Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I will call the meeting to order. And the first item on the agenda is the election of a vice chair.
I can assist with that and get that started if you like.
Yes, thank you, Tara.
Oh, hi everyone. Just as a follow-up to the last meeting, we elected a chair, but due to the number of absences at that meeting, we decided to move the election of the vice chair to the next meeting. So that's the purpose of this showing up on the agenda here today. So for those members in attendance, are there any nominations that you'd like to put forward to nominate a vice chair for the committee? It will run for the rest of 2025, and the role is to step into the place of chair during Chair Schultz's absences. And of course, staff would be here to assist with that as well if required. Are there any nominations to put forward? Or anyone that's interested in perhaps trying out a role? Councillor Gregg, do you think I could inquire as to your interest to be vice chair for the committee?
I could support that and support Catherine where need may be.
Okay, thank you. Oh, sorry, was someone asking a question? No, okay, sorry, I thought I heard a voice in the background there. Okay, is there anyone that would like to make a nomination for Councillor Scott Gregg to be vice chair for the remaining year?
I will nominate Scott Gregg to be chair for the year.
Thank you, Ray. Is there a seconder for that?
I can do it. It's Brooke.
Okay, thank you, Brooke. Okay. Any other nominations for vice chair? Okay, seeing none, can we have a motion to close nominations?
I'll move.
Thank you. And a seconder?
I can second.
Okay, thank you, Brooke. Okay, so those are closed. As discussed previously, I believe Councillor Gregg accepts the nomination for vice chair and is so acclaimed. So we can pass that over back to you, Chair Schultz, to continue.
Thank you, Tara. And congratulations, Scott. Okay, and the next item on the agenda is declaration of interest. Does anyone have a declaration of interest? Anyone? No? Okay. And there are no delegations today. So we'll start with the first item for direction or discussion on the agenda. And we will start with item 5A, Southgate REC 2025-004 Dundalk Community Center / McIntyre Building Accessibility Upgrades. And before I hand this over to Kevin Green, I'm going to propose the motion that report REC 2025-004 Dundalk Community Center / McIntyre Building Accessibility Upgrades be presented to the Grey County Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee for review and comment. Can I have a mover for the motion, please?
I can do it. It's Brooke.
Okay, thank you, Brooke. And a seconder, please.
Second it.
Okay, thank you, Ray. And I will now hand it over to Kevin Green.
My apologies, Chair. We just have some technical difficulties, I think, with Kevin entering the meeting. Could you just give us a quick pause while we try to make a connection with him? Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks, Tara.
There, my panelist now, it's Kevin.
Hi, Kevin. You should be good now. Thank you.
Yeah, no, sent me there. I was on Zoom and on whatever. Oh,
Thank you, Kevin.
hopefully this works. I'm trying to
Yeah,
use my phone and trying to use everything, but what do you
yeah.
need from me?
Thank you. It's Catherine, Chair Catherine Schultz. I just introduced the item on the agenda, and I'm basically handing it over for you for your presentation.
Yeah, we just have two projects on the go for this summer, and it's in the report. I think you have the report, I think. One is the community center seating. We've never had accessible seating, or we did, but certainly not to today's code. So we'd like to buy the platforms provided by, I think there's pictures of them there I sent, but it's by an accessibility company, and that will put a platform in there, proper platform, proper turning radius, proper ramp, and it would go in the lobby of the arena. And that would give us up to code, today's code anyways, accessible seating. And the other project is the McIntyre building. We brought it up to code 15 years ago, but it's no longer to municipal code. It needs some automatic door openers, a proper vestibule, and to switch one of the bathrooms over to a universal fully automatic. So those are the two projects that I got on the go for this year.
Okay, that's great. And thank you. I did read through the report, and I have a good understanding of what you're proposing to do. And I will put it to the committee to see if anybody has any questions or concerns that they would like to raise with Kevin. Did everybody have a chance to read through the material that was sent? Okay. So any concerns or questions from our committee members? No, I don't see any hands. Okay. So we did put forth Kevin, we did put forth the motion, and so I'm going to ask for the motion to be all in favor of the motion that was presented. Okay.
Yes,
Brooke?
that's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And Jacob?
Yes.
Okay. And Andrew? Andrew?
Andrew is absent today.
Oh, sorry. And I saw that Pamela had her hand up. Yeah. Okay. So the motion would be carried. And Kevin, just so you know that the motion was that the report REC 2025-004 Dundalk Community Center / McIntyre Building Accessibility Upgrades be presented to the Grey County Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee for review and comment.
Excellent.
Okay, just so you're aware that that was what the motion was.
Oh, that's good.
Okay, thank you so much for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Bye,
take care.
everybody.
Okay, and the second item on the agenda is the next item on the agenda under items for direction or discussion is item number 5B. Georgian Bluffs washroom renovations at Shallow Lake. And before I hand it over to Niall Lobley, I will ask for the motion that the Grey County Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee receive the report Washroom Renovations, Shallow Lake, from the Township of Georgian Bluffs, and that the committee review the proposed renovations and provide advice to the township in respect to accessibility of the washrooms. Can I please have a mover for the motion? Anyone on the committee? Can I have a mover for the motion?
I see Councillor Scott Gregg's hand up.
Oh, okay, thank you. And a seconder, please.
I can do it. It's Brooke.
Oh, okay, great. Thanks, Brooke. And I will hand it over to Niall, please.
Good afternoon, committee. Thank you, Chair. I'm pleased to be with you this afternoon. So I'd like to share some works that the township is planning to undertake at its Shallow Lake Arena. So Shallow Lake Arena was built in the 1980s, long before any regulations really existed in respect to accessibility, and so has relatively few, if any, accessible elements built into the building, the infrastructure. Shallow Lake Arena serves as our community centre, as one of three community centres in the township, and probably the most modern functioning community centre, with a front part of the building which is of 2 floors. It does have an elevator that provides access to the 2nd floor for all users, and we have washroom facilities on both the ground floor and the 2nd floor. The facility was updated in and around 2010, 2011 with an extension to the changing rooms area. And at that point in time, the designs did not include any accessibility upgrades to other sections, other areas of the building. And so whilst some sections of the building are more modern in their design, many hark back to the original 1980s building. The ground floor washrooms have, at some point in the past, had a very light and internal modification made to try and make them a little more accessible. That looked like a slightly larger stall being built in both the gentlemen and the ladies' washrooms, and some grab bars being installed, and alternative mirrors being hung on the wall. I think it's fair to say that those upgrades or enhancements, not really upgrades, those enhancements that were made were, whilst slightly more accessible than the pre-existing conditions, were far from accessible. And so it's been for many years. In 2024, am I right? 2023, sorry, as part of the 2024 capital budget programme, staff did bring forward a proposal to council to undertake some renovations of the washrooms inside the arena building. Due to budget constraints in the 2024 capital budget, they were unable to be advanced at that point in time. During the course of 2024, one of the users of Shallow Lake, whose family are active participants in the Lakers hockey family, and she is herself a wheelchair user, attended council to share their experiences of using the washroom facilities at Shallow Lake. And certainly it was a no holds barred presentation to council. And based on that discussion, council directed staff to immediately effect some light renovations within the 2024 operating budget to try and accommodate a more accessible experience in terms of the washrooms. During the course of 2024, what that looked like was we took the smallest of the changing rooms, which is closest to the main entranceway, foyer area of the arena. That small changing room was used as a referee's changing room rather than as a player's changing room. We took that out of use as a referee's changing room and reassigned it as an accessible washroom. Again, some internal renovations were completed, which included the installation, the widening of the door frame, repositioning of heating and air conditioning ventilation systems and some electrical, the installation of an automated door, a new toilet being installed, new hand basin, new faucets, new sink being installed in that space. Grab bars were applied to the walls to aid in use of that space. Again, whilst this was certainly far more accessible than any other feature within Shallow Lake, the phrase more accessible rather than fully accessible should be applied. It doesn't meet the full building code definition of accessible. And as I think we all know, building code is really the starting point for accessibility rather than the point what we should be aiming for. So we advanced a budget request through the 2025 budget process. That was supported and is in place through 2025 to undertake a much more holistic review of the washroom facilities at Shallow Lake Arena to make them more accessible. The plans that you see before you are the plans that have been crafted to do that. So just to walk through those plans slightly, for those of you that might know Shallow Lake Arena, you come in through the main double doors into the main foyer area. There is a concession stand and a small office area off that open space. And at the current time, there is a block of female washrooms and a block of male washrooms. We are proposing to remove the wall that separates out the male and female washrooms, create a small corridor, and a number of gender-neutral stalls will be put in place, each with a toilet, hand washing facilities, mirror, so on and so forth. And one of those stalls will be a fully accessible, universal, accessible washroom area with a changing table for infants, as well as a fully accessible toilet, accessible washroom, alternative mirror and fittings, and so on and so forth. It will have an automated door and will be accessed off that central corridor. The corridor will be wide, and the doorway into the corridor will be an open door. There will not be a door onto the corridor. It will be an opening in the wall. Assuming that we have significant enough budget, and we believe that we do at this point in time, we will continue the renovations to the former referees' changing room to make that now into a fully accessible changing room. So it will have an adult changing table that pulls down from the wall, a reconfigured changing space so that an assistant or a helper is able to come into the room to support somebody that's using it, removing the existing shower and making that into a wet room space so that there is a fully level, accessible shower facility, the replacement of the toilet, and a reconfiguration of that space to allow us to have that at a higher level of accessibility. So that will create not only a universal changing room, but a universal washroom and several gender-neutral stalls. We do lose a slight number of fittings in reconfiguring a space like that, but overall the building is still well serviced with washroom fittings, and so we're not too concerned at the loss of a couple of fittings in that space. The upstairs washrooms will remain as is. So that's the interior space of Shallow Lake. I don't know, Chair, if it would be useful to pause and take questions there before I talk about the washroom space that's outside the arena as well.
Sure. This is all very exciting, all these changes, and I congratulate you on this. Yeah, committee members, does anyone have any questions for Niall? Assuming everybody has read through and looked at the drawings and had an opportunity to review the information that was sent to us. Anyone have any questions? No? Okay,
Thanks.
We'll let you go ahead there, Niall.
So I will talk about the second half. So when you're looking at the drawings, what I've just talked about is really the left-hand side of the page. If I look at the right-hand side of the page, again, for those of you that know Shallow Lake Arena, as you turn into the parking lot, you've got the main arena building off to your right-hand side. You have the playground equipment to your left-hand side. At the far back of the parking lot, there is a former concession stand associated with the ball diamond and bleachers that are at the back of the parking lot and sort of the front part of the park space on the property. That concession building, around the back of the concession building, has an area which is divided into a male and female washroom area. It has an old shower block within there as well. They sort of hark back to anyone that's been around for more years than me, for sure. They hark back to when we used to have camping in and around the Shallow Lake area, mainly to support multi-day tournaments. And so there was a small shower facility in there. Showers haven't been used for years, and the washrooms are in an advanced state. Anyone that's used them in the last couple of years will know that they are in an advanced state of age and sorely in need of some renovations. And so, again, we wanted to take a lens of modernizing these, as well as looking at accessibility enhancements. These washrooms operate seasonally. They are accessed from outside of the building, so they're open from about May, from about this time of year, right the way through to Labor Day weekend or thereabouts. And so we recently upgraded the washrooms with the Order of Good Cheer down in Sarawak Family Park. We wanted to take the same sort of approach to these. And so working with our designer, we've actually stripped out the washrooms where they currently are, and the space where the washrooms currently are will be transformed into just a storage space or a garage. And we will then use the former concession area and divide it into two universal access washrooms. Both will have automated doors, so both of these will be fully accessible, fully universal. Both of them will also support an infant change table in there. Both will contain a toilet, hand basin, wash basin, mirror, faucets, and hand drying facilities. And both will contain a toilet and for use. I should have noted in the first one of the comments we had was the desire to have a pull down bar, not just the ones which are required through building code. And so the pull down bar will be in both these two, as well as the one on the inside of the washroom to aid access onto the toilet itself. These will have automated doors, as I say, and just like at Sarawak Family Park, they will be on a timed lock, which means that the washrooms will automatically lock themselves overnight and automatically reopen during the day, so that they will be available throughout the week without the necessity of staff having to attend the site morning and evening, 7 days a week. The interior, if anyone has been to Sarawak Park, the idea is to keep the interior very similar to we've got at Sarawak Family Park, and so it's a product which is similar to the True Core, Tough Core, I think it's called. Surfacing, it's a plastic interior surface, so it can be easily kept clean and washed down on the inside with an epoxy floor. We'll probably make some minor amendments to the outside of the building. There isn't really a good path of travel, an accessible path of travel between the parking lot and the washroom block at this point in time. So there'll be some hardscaping put around there, probably in the format of an asphalt or concrete walkway or rollway to enable people to get from the parking lot to the washroom block. And we'll also look to see if we can enhance the lighting, which is perhaps less important as you get into the peak of summer, but as you get into the fall season, ensuring that there's adequate lighting for people to be able to access the building in the evening will be a consideration. So it is our hope that we'll be able to achieve all of this within the budget that's been assigned to us, and we'd welcome any feedback or comments that you might have. In addition to talking to the Accessibility Advisory Committee, we've also reached out to the family member who is a regular routine user at the arena and have sought her blessing. And in fact, the catch on the pull down bars was as a result of conversations with her. She was very keen. She was pretty damning of building code standards when it came to positions of grab bars and things like that. So we've been working with her to make sure that they go at the right height and in the right places to actually be helpful and allow for independent use of the washrooms. So thank you for your time.
Well, thank you, Niall. Thank you for your presentation. And any members have any questions for Niall?
Yes, I just wanted to know how is the water and drainage set up for your outdoor, and is it drainable in the winter months, or is it deep enough to maintain itself?
Through you, Madam Chair, thank you for the question. So, no, we don't have a water supply which would allow us to open the outdoor washrooms throughout the winter season. They would freeze. There is a drainage point. The small space immediately behind the two washrooms is the utility space. We will have a drain located in there so that we'll be able to winterize the washrooms for the winter season. We rely on a septic system at this point, and in fact, the water supply lines that go to this building are relatively shallow between the building and the outbuilding, so wouldn't be able to survive the winter, unfortunately. However, I should say, during the winter season, the great benefit is it's peak hockey season, and so the interior washrooms are available from fairly early on in the day until fairly late at night. So we should have accessible washrooms available most of the day and well into the evening throughout most of the year on the property.
Okay. Any other questions? No? Okay. Well, thank you again, Niall. We greatly appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
And I will ask that all in favor of the motion from our members? Brooke?
Yes.
Jacob? Can't
Yes.
see you. Okay, great. And Councillor Gregg?
In favor.
Okay, great. All right, then the motion would be carried. Okay, and so the next item is 5C, an own sound report OP-25-019, intersection improvement options for 9th Avenue East at 6th Street East. And I'll call for the motion first before I hand it over to Lara. That the Grey County Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee provide review and comment on Owen Sound Staff Report OP-25-019, respecting intersection improvement options 9th Avenue East at 6th Street East. And can I have a mover for the motion, please? Committee members, can I get a mover for the motion?
I will.
Okay, thank you, Jacob. And a seconder, please. Ray? Perfect. Okay, and I will hand it over to Lara.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, committee members. This report is for your information and to gather your feedback relating to some intersection improvements that the city will be undertaking in Owen Sound at 9th Avenue East at 6th Street East. We were fortunate to get Connecting Link funding to upgrade the road, but as part of that, we're looking at improving the accessibility wherever possible. The small problem is that we can't quite get it completely to all of the AODA best practices because we don't have quite enough land in one corner of the intersection. But there are a whole bunch of other good things, and I'd like to go through them quickly with you, or not quickly, go through them with you so that we can gather your feedback and get your opinion on a couple of things in particular. Madam Chair, I have two schematics that were provided to us by our consultant after the agenda was published. Would I be able to share those?
Absolutely, thank you.
Okay, so let's see if I can figure out how to do this. Okay, so to share. Oh, and I have to pick screen. This one. So are you able to see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so this is the existing intersection. Pardon me, this is a little weird. I see you over here, and so the orientation of this is facing north. So it's essentially the way that you would look at it on a map. At the southwest corner of the intersection is a small island. It's been that way for quite a while, I believe. Northwest corner of the intersection is the county courthouse, or provincial courthouse building, and the southeast corner is the Grey County municipal or Grey County administrative offices. Currently, if you'll notice that there are some discontinuities in the sidewalk around the corner with the municipal or with the administrative offices, and there is no sidewalk northbound on the west side of 9th Avenue East beyond 6th Street. So we were faced with a number of challenges in this area. There's a hydro pole and significant hydro corridor that runs east-west, and there's a supporting pole on the island. So that proved to be essentially a fixed point that we were not able to move. So in addition to having land constraints at the northwest corner, where you'll see actually, can you see my cursor as well, or just, yeah, okay. So my cursor is in the location. The property line is a right angle, but you can see that we already have existing infrastructure beyond that property line. So as part of this work, when we were unable to obtain additional land from the private property, we had to rejig things to essentially make this right as well, on top of all of the other considerations that we needed to include. So in the proposed design, we have achieved appropriate sidewalk ramps at all of the crossing points. And according to AODA standards, the appropriate way to do a sidewalk ramp is that the ramp has a 0.9 meter wide, I believe, strip of sidewalk behind the ramp, so that somebody can pass by while somebody's waiting at the intersection to cross, like, so that there is a flat spot to wait or to go past, and you don't have to, particularly for somebody that's mobility challenged, walk or ride through the dip down portion of the ramp. We've managed to do that at all of these points except for right here, because of the land constraints. So in this crossing right here, the sidewalk essentially becomes the sidewalk ramp. So this sidewalk ramp will not have side slopes that slope down to it. The whole sidewalk will slope gently down towards the road, similar to the way that you would have a driveway crossing. So while we realize that's not ideal, unfortunately, there's a gas line right underneath the curb line. We think that's where it's been located, but it isn't. They're not always exactly where they're marked. We won't really know for sure until we excavate. And we were also faced with the parameter of making sure that the pedestrian activation button was 1.5 meters away from the curb, the crossing itself. So we have those in the right spot, more or less. But that came at the sacrifice of the type of sidewalk ramp that you see at these other crossings. The other thing that has been raised to us by our council, or by one member of our council, is whether it makes sense to include this branch and this branch of the crossings, or if we should just include the two that are proper, because, well, completely 100% according to best practices. Because on this island, there probably will be some issues with snow storage, so it may end up being unusable at certain times of the year, especially if we have a winter like we just had where it was just relentless. So my question to you is, how do you feel about including these crossing points? And are you satisfied with the measures that we've put in place up to this point in order to make this intersection as accessible as possible, keeping in mind the constraints that we have to work with, being the land issue and the undergrounds? So the report does detail a little bit more of some of the considerations and the accommodations that we've put in place. But if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them for you.
Being a person on a wheelchair, I would suggest that the island be not eliminated, but the crossing to that island be eliminated. And I have a concern on the corner by the whole motel there. Is that sidewalk sloping like that going to be a slipping hazard? A slippage hazard in the wintertime? And also, is there room to turn a scooter? A chair would be no problem, but a scooter requires a turning radius. Is there room for that accommodated?
Am I okay to answer, Madam Chair? I'm not familiar with the protocol for this meeting.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
for sure, Nicole.
So thank you very much for the question, Member Whitfield. So, I think the first point you made was to eliminate the crossings to the island. That's good feedback. Thank you. The second one being the slope on the sidewalk ramp. It's a 2% slope, so that's quite shallow. It shouldn't be an issue. However, for full disclosure, because of the topography in that area, there is like along the sidewalk a fairly significant slope. I believe it was 8%, but that is within the tolerances that are allowed under the AODA. And I'm going to have to check on the scooter issue. We'll have to see if we can find a template for that, because I'm going to guess a turning radius wouldn't fit on the concrete, but possibly including the flat grass area. That being said, we have to acknowledge that the grass area is not part of the city's property at this time.
And the other thing is, I'm in total opposition to the buttons. Those things, if the light's green, you can cross. But those buttons are never in proximity, close enough proximity to the corner. And half the time they don't work. Even if you can get to them, some of them are impossible to get to in the wintertime with the snow buildup. And I think they are a total waste of time.
Through Madam Chair to the member, would you suggest then, and I'm not saying that this could necessarily be the solution, but would it then, in your opinion, be better if the crossing signal just went automatically with the red on the overhead traffic light?
Yes. Red, you don't cross, the green, you do.
Right.
And that is standard and was standard. The argument that's used is, well, if you push the button, it shortens it. And that is a real bogus statement. That never happens.
We can talk to our consultant about that and see if there's something that we can do to incorporate that feedback for sure.
Okay, and I see Pamela has her hand up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So my question was, I agree with Ray about not having the crossings to the island there, because you've got no way to get up to Lee Manor at all there, going through the turning lane. I think that's terribly dangerous to begin with. And just keeping it as simple as possible to get where you need to go. If there's no sidewalk there, then you don't need to be there. Just my thoughts.
And due to the location, what percentage of the populace is going to be in wheelchairs? There's like, it's the only thing that they'd have to go to there would be the bus stop, the bus, and it seems like a whole lot of, especially from the courthouse across to the Grey County building, once you get to the Great County building, you can't go any further unless you're coming down. And I saw a guy today coming down that hill on his scooter or his chair. And I used to live on Superior Street, and I had to come right down the street. There was no sidewalk.
So just to respond to that, through you, Madam Chair, we are also extending the sidewalk as part of this project down 9th Avenue. At this point, and actually maybe I can make a question of this for this group as well. Our drawings currently show it all the way to Superior Street. However, recently we were thinking that it may make more sense to terminate it at the hotel, simply for the fact that we don't want to have a sidewalk that ends in a place where people may want to cross the highway in an unsafe location. Because really, unless you were turning up Superior Street to go to I believe there's a piece of the Bruce Trail at the end of that road or something. Unless you were going up there, the only other sort of attraction would be to try to go across to the Centennial Tower property. So that would not be a desirable place to try to cross the highway.
The major traffic from there is coming from the Stone Tree. So it should go directly to Superior or to Joe's Garage, which is outside the city.
Right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. And Brooke, you've had your hand up for a little bit there. Brooke?
Brooke, you're on mute.
Sorry, my screen reader jumped to a different spot on Zoom.
No worries.
So as I'm someone who has a visual impairment, and I use a cane and a guide dog, please don't remove the button, because assuming that somebody is going to know when it's okay to cross without kind of having that ability to prompt it is a lot better, because some of us don't have great hearing. So if I go up to the thing and then I listen, yes, I do listen to the traffic to kind of know if it's okay to go, but I don't necessarily I can't always trust my hearing. So having the extra ability to prompt, I know that's not a it's not a fail-proof method, because some cars don't listen to the lights at the crossings, but having that ability to prompt it to cross, and then knowing that, okay, if I wait, I should be okay in a bit. So please don't remove that, because as someone with a visual impairment, that's something that's useful to us.
Thank you very much for that.
Thanks, Brooke. And Scott, you have your hand up.
There we go.
Thanks
for your patience with me. Some great comments, and just to build on some of them, I'm going to touch upon the sidewalk extending to Superior Street, which in the preliminary plans as presented to the city was what we intended to do. I like that idea. I'm a big walker and a big cyclist, and I really enjoy turning left on Superior Street and going out to the rail trail. But sitting in that left turn lane as a vehicle, waiting to cross, terrifies me. And actually, cyclists are looking forward to being able to even deviate and get off that treacherous roadway and be able to attain access. I know we shouldn't be on the sidewalk, but it's kind of it's a best alternative to what exists there. had met with an individual who's visually impaired a couple weeks ago, a former member of our our former Owen Sound Accessibility Committee. And one of the discussion points was indeed the island. I saw it as not desirable. It's not where I would want to position myself as a pedestrian, and I'm fortunate and able-bodied. It's just a place of discomfort. And this gentleman who's visually impaired, he was in agreement that that is not a practice that he would be favorable to, is venturing out and being situated alone in an island like that. So I think it does merit consideration to remove that crossing and try to steward people to where we can best accommodate it. It also potentially moves a slight deviation in the curb on that northwest corner too, where the crossing is not exactly kind of 90 degrees, and we never want to enable someone perhaps to not be straight lining or direct them somewhat into the middle of an intersection. I think, I mean, I might be long dead before a sidewalk ever gets built down the south side of 6th Street to Lee Manor. I can inform committee that this is an arterial and collector priority road in the city, which means these sidewalks will be maintained at a priority status. So in terms of winter maintenance, slip and fall, they do have that superior rating to try to get treatment faster than localized streets, for instance. So that's an enhancement in terms of trying to melt slippery conditions or move snow. One, I know the bollards, I hear Ray is concerned with the bollards. I think of 10th Street West and 9th Avenue West in Owen Sound is well known as the outskirts of the city, and it's a popular crossing for kids going to St. Basil's Public School. The MTO redid that intersection about 6 years ago, and that whole intersection is full of bollards. And they're placed at different locales. So I am a proponent of staying with the bollard and just trying to situate it for individuals at the best possible place we can to enhance their comfort in crossing there. So I think that's all my comments at this time. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Greg. And I see, Ray, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I don't know whether this is pertinent or not, but I'm going to make a statement that in removing the walkways to the island, would it be pertinent to put a crosswalk straight across from Lee Manor to accommodate any of the seniors that wanted to be transit? I don't know if there'd be enough of them coming out of there or not to be worthwhile, but a crosswalk with a
Through you, Madam Chair, I think I need a little bit of clarification, Member Whitfield. Where would you propose the crosswalk would go to Lee Manor at?
Well, it wouldn't be right at the corner, but it would be down by the exit of Lee Manor, the roadway. You put a crosswalk across there, and that accommodates anybody from that side of the street that wants to get across safely.
It probably wouldn't be able to be included in this particular project, but we, as staff, we can definitely look at that and see, you know, whether the geometry works for that and like what all would be involved in that.
Okay, and Does any other member have a question for Nicole? I thought I saw a hand up. No. No. Oh, Councillor Gray. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, it was just my hand, and I was going to affirm for Ray. I think I knew exactly where he was talking about. I have exited the public transit at that bus shelter, so I'm aware of where he was referencing there. Thanks, Chair.
You're welcome. And I think we also, as a committee, we have to also remember, and I think it was referenced in the report, that the Act does provide exceptions in cases where the existing physical on-site constraints prohibit making those changes, that it does still fall under the Act. And I commend you, Nicole, and the city for making all of these efforts that you're making at this intersection. And I do believe I saw this as a news feed either yesterday or earlier today. So it has made it to the news media. And I think, all efforts are being made to make this compliant with AODA, but there is times when it can't be perfect. And, it's just the constraints that are there that almost make it impossible. Like you literally would have to tear everything apart and redo it in order to be compliant. And that's a huge cost to the city for sure. So, I do want to commend you for the efforts that are being made. And I do see that Pamela has her hand up.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I just came to me, if you take away the crossing to the island from the north side there in front of could you move the crossing down to give yourselves a little bit more room? If you move the crossing south, I don't have a cursor, I'm pointing with my finger here. Maybe that'd help give better turning for scooters and things like that. Just a thought.
Through Madam Chair, thank you very much, Member Matheson. We can look at that. The problem with moving them too substantially away from the intersection is that you're then cutting across more lanes of traffic. If you mean to clear the island, if that's what you're referring to, which can become problematic because it's obviously it's a further space to travel in a certain amount of time, which may be difficult for people that are maybe walk but have a hard time getting there in a quick way.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I wasn't referring to that. I was referring to how to make myself clear. If you move the current east-west at the north point, if you move that one down a little bit south, it gives you more space, does it not, to turn? I'm not suggesting that you go to the one that's currently there. I'm just saying move it down just a little bit. Anyway, it was just a suggestion.
Okay. Are there any other questions for Nicole or suggestions? Members? No? Okay, thank you, Nicole. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And good presentation. Can I have all in favor of the motion? Okay, Brooke?
Yes.
Okay, Jacob?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, motion carried. All right, the next item on the agenda is correspondence, and we certainly have a lot of correspondence on the agenda. So items 6A to 6F, has everybody had the opportunity, hopefully, to have read through the correspondence? And I think the way I would approach this would be that, does anyone have any questions or anything they would like to add to the correspondence? Pam, perfect timing.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you, we're certainly pleased to present these 6 site plans to the county's Joint Accessibility Committee today. As the committee may be aware, the province has delegated site plan approval to staff. That's something that staff certainly take very seriously. In order that we can meet the prescribed timelines of those approvals, the province gives us 60 days. The accessibility component is also delegated to staff in Owen Sound. So our commitment through the delegation bylaw is to do a summary of the items of accessibility. So for each development, you would have seen some review of the vehicular access and paths of travel, exterior paths of travel for non-vehicles, so for pedestrians, lighting, overall site design and functionality, accessible parking, and access to transit and other amenities. So that's just a bit of a summary. I'm happy to take any questions. Margaret Potter is here with me too today, and we'd be pleased to answer any questions the committee may have.
Okay, thank you, Pam. Does anyone have any questions for Pam? Anyone on the committee? Any members? Have you read through everything, and were there any questions or concerns that you might have? Okay, I don't see any hands up there, Pam. So I will propose a motion that the correspondence regarding items 6A, inclusive of items 6F, be received for information. Can I have a mover?
I can do it, Brooke.
Oh, sorry, Brooke, okay. And a seconder. Jacob? Perfect, thank you. All in favor?
Yes.
Okay. Jacob, you're good? Okay. All right, motion carried. Thank you, Pam. Appreciate your time. Okay, the next item on the agenda was item number 7, which is resources, accessible electric vehicle charging stations and design recommendations for accessible electric vehicle charging stations. Not sure if anybody is speaking to this.
Chair, it's Kathy Nuno. I could speak
Thanks,
to it just
Kathy.
to say that this is a reference. Our climate action folks have been talking about accessible vehicle charging stations, and I just thought that this might be a nice local municipal resource for anybody to refer to if they should find it of interest.
Great, thank you, Kathy. So I'll move on to the item number 8, which is other business. And the first item on the agenda is the AODA desk audits. I'm assuming, Kathy, you'll be speaking to that.
I think I have the rest of these, so
I think
I'm just going to run through them all kind of quickly because my battery's getting low here. I'm off site, sorry. So Grey County was recently selected to do a desk audit for compliance for accessibility. We received it on April 11th with a deadline of submission of May 2nd, which was a pretty tight deadline. Questions included accessibility compliance reporting, establishing of an accessibility advisory committee, providing records of training for Ontario Human Rights Code and AODA, accessible feedback, formats and communication support, recreational trails improvements, outdoor public use eating areas and play spaces, sidewalks, rest areas and traffic lights, off-street and on-street parking spaces,
service counters, waiting areas, and maintenance of accessible elements. So a lot of consultation was done with departments to compile this information, which was submitted on time on May 2nd. The province asked us one follow-up question. They were happy with the results, and they've sent a letter saying that they've concluded their desk audit and will not be requesting any further information at this time. So that's the update on that. Moving on to the next item, the Age-Friendly Communities Committee update. So Grey County has an age-friendly committee that's made up of various people from the community and from staff with a lens of implementing the Grey County Age-Friendly Action Plan. So the age-friendly projects often have elements that work well with accessibility, and so my role in the committee is to help with the dovetailing of that. One of the projects that we have right now is to create a program for local businesses to become recognized as an age-friendly business and to display their municipality's age-friendly logo in their window. So I surveyed some municipalities through the Ontario Network for Accessibility Professionals to see if anybody had an accessibility checklist or an age-friendly checklist that businesses could follow. And so we're working on that project. It's ongoing. And another project is creating a checklist for age-friendly events. I'm also participating in this subgroup, and I have shared the province's resources for planning age-friendly remote events, and also for accessible, how to conduct an accessible meeting and host an accessible event. Recently, the ONAP group, which was that's the group I just mentioned a minute ago, had a spring conference. The Ministry of Seniors and Accessibility attended virtually, and lots of members from this committee had participated in the 2024 WCAG survey. And you guys sent me in the fall to the fall province to say, find out what the province is saying about this survey. And at that time, they didn't have anything put together. But since then, they've said that the main findings include navigation, getting the required information, text not being legible, text too complex or too much, not all organizations build accessible websites, lack of alternative formats, and challenges in providing feedback to organizations. He said the next step is to inform future WCAG compliance strategies, and that in 2025, the ministry is going to start conducting on-site inspections. For larger organizations, they're going to focus on the health and safety of people with disabilities and inclusivity. And for smaller businesses, they're going to establish a presence and awareness of key AODA requirements and launch an awareness building inspection initiative with selected businesses. Then we have a very big piece on a recent update to the Ontario Building Code. And I think that if it's okay with this group, rather than read you all of the changes that are going to impact us, Brittany's going to put them all into the minutes. And so would you be okay if we left it at that, or did you want me to go through those? Feel free to shout out your thoughts.
I'm fine with the minutes. That's fine.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, that's kind of a lot of information to throw at you all at once. And thank you for your patience.
Thank you, Kathy. Tara, you have your hand up?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to recognize Kathy for the results and the outcome of the desktop audit. Sometimes when the province asks municipalities for things, they ask for quite a lot, and in terms of gathering information and submitting it in a specific format. So just shout out to Kathy for all the legwork she did on that, and with other Grey County staff with really positive outcome as well. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Tara. And I too would like to say congratulations, because I know it's not an easy job and there's a lot of hard work that goes into it. So great results, Kathy. Kudos
Thank you,
to
Chair.
you. Yeah. And Ray, you have your hand up.
Yes. I'm not sure whether this falls into this capacity or not, but I've been doing some reading and I discovered a statement that said that by February of 25, all buildings had to be accessible, and that included stores. Looking at downtown Sound, I think there's about 5 that have power doors, and the rest of them have, some of them have those wooden ramps up, but no power doors. And what's the bearing on that?
Yeah, Kathy has her hand up. Thanks,
Thank you.
Kathy.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, Ray, I think the one thing about that is it's not retroactive. So it's if anybody is doing a new build or a significant renovation on a current build. And so it will take a while for the world to become completely accessible, for sure.
I knew
And I
there
think-
was some curbs in there, but I wasn't sure just how it was.
And I think too, we have to remember that at one point the province did come back with a statement with regards to the AODA that initially and originally with the Act, and having been an active participant in the Act, it was stated that the province was looking at a fully accessible province, and they soon realized that that would be impossible. And so they did remove the word fully accessible from the Act because they knew that, as Kathy was saying, buildings would be grandfathered in and commercial businesses would be grandfathered in because of the cost and because they've already existed for many, many years. To make them compliant would take huge efforts. And so the word fully was actually removed from the Act. And that happened a number of years ago. So we, just as a reminder, as a committee, we have to keep that in mind when we think about the AODA. Municipalities do everything they can, and some will have constraints, as we found out with Nicole. We have to be cognizant of that as a committee. But it's a good question, Ray, for sure, because there are a lot of buildings in all municipalities, commercial businesses that, unfortunately, some individuals are just not able to access. But there are things that businesses can do, and, they can, try to make things accessible if they can. And there's lots of work out there in communities that do provide that information to them. So just wanted to add that little bit of information.
I know of one woman that does a lot of shopping down at Turney's, and she raps on the window when they come out.
Yeah, and a lot of places put wireless doorbells in, and customer service can be provided at the door if necessary. I know businesses in a couple of surrounding municipalities that, for the lack of being able to have the person in the building, they have a catalog of the items that they have in their store. So they're able to bring the catalog to the individual. There are a lot of things that can be put in place to adapt to that. But we just have to be cognizant of the fact that we are not going to be a fully accessible Ontario, as Kathy said, anytime soon.
The only store I shop in Owen Sound right now is Walmart, and that is because of the carts in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And the bigger businesses for sure are going to be compliant. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that, Ray. Does anybody have any other questions or anything to add today? No? Okay. So I think we're able to, so it looks like our next meeting is going to be Thursday, July 17th at 2 p.m. if required. So if there are items on the agenda that require our review, we'll know that in advance. Other than that, I just want to say have a great afternoon, everyone, and I will call for a motion to adjourn the meeting. Can I have a mover to adjourn? Great. And a seconder? A seconder?
I can do it, Brooke.
Okay. Thank you, Brooke. All right. Great to see everyone. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Enjoy
Thanks,
the long
Tara.
weekend, all.
Oh, yes, that's right. Thank you for the reminder. Thanks. Take care.